Uh, Good morning, good afternoon, colleagues, wherever you are around the world. While we're waiting for others to join, just feel free to introduce yourself on the chat stream so that at least we'll know where you are and your locations, and then you can introduce yourself in the chat stream and state which organization that you are working for. So today, I welcome all of us into another session of our public health conversation series that is titled Nourishing Joy, Healthy Eating in the Holiday Season. As you know, we are almost in the last phase of this year and we are moving towards the holiday season. And then we just want to hear from an expert who will walk us through how we need to make informed choices in our healthy eating during the holiday season so that we'll be able to maintain a healthy lifestyle while we are celebrating with our family, friends around the world. My name is Dr. Fola Ogunbowale. I'm from the public health section of the Division of Healthcare Management and Occupational Safety and Health at the headquarters in New York. I work with Dr. Esther Tan in the public health unit. So today I will be leading the presentation with our expert presenter. And if you have not checked out our website to review various public health programs that we have, you will see in the chat box a link where you can actually access all our public health programs and other health promotions and health strategies that we have put in place to support personnel wherever they are located. So if you have made notes for us to note before we start the meeting, all attendee lines have been muted, and we are doing this deliberately so that we won't have interruption during the course of the presentation. So if you have any question during the webinar, please just put them in the chat box. So once we are done with the initial set of presentation, our presenter will answer all these questions. I mean, let's say for the last 10 minutes after our presentation, she will be able to take as many questions that are being submitted on the chat box. So if you have any question you want to ask the presenter, just submit them onto the chat stream. And also, just for you to know that this webinar is being recorded and the link will be available to all participants after the meeting. And those links are also available in on the our specific web page where we normally host all these public health conversation series webinars that we have done in the past. So without further ado, I need to introduce our presenter for today. She has been with us here before, and we are bringing her back to give us more information and to educate us on how to make healthy choices during the holiday season. So I'm introducing Miss Signe Svanfeldt.
Yes.
She's a lead nutritionist at the Health App Lifezone, and she's a highly accomplished food science and nutrition specialist who brings wealth of knowledge and expertise to our role as an in-house nutritionist at Lifezone. And she has a lot of academic background from Uppsala University, where she had a bachelor degree in food service and nutrition. And she also had other postgraduate studies like master program in food science and nutrition. And with a deep passion for intricate relationship between food and its impact on both physical and mental well-being, she plays a leading role in guiding and enlightening Lifezone community. And I think we are part of Lifezone community now because we use the apps also. So through several years of our work, she transformed complex nutritional concepts into accessible, actionable insights, helping individuals to foster healthy lifestyle and make sustainable dietary decisions. Signe's holistic approach to nutrition underscores our belief that food is not merely for sustenance, but a powerful tool for enhancing overall quality of life. Our comprehensive understanding of the science behind food and nutrition equip her with the ability to educate and help people towards a healthier and happier life. So without further ado, I will hand over to her. She will make an initial presentation to us. After that, will be followed by question and answer. So like I mentioned earlier, please be during the course of the presentation, if you have any question to ask, just post them in the chat box, and then we'll go over those questions after our presentation. So over to you, Signe. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that nice introduction. So let me just share my screen here. There we go. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So as you said, we're going to talk about healthy eating during the holiday season now. So this is a very current topic. So yeah, my name is Signe Svanfeldt. I'm the lead nutritionist at Lifesum. And as you said, I have a background in food science and food service and nutrition, and a huge passion for food and helping people towards a healthier life through better eating. And today's agenda is we're going to talk about a bit of how food impacts our health. And then we're going to go through some basics of nutrition, because that's always good to repeat. Even though you have some knowledge, it's always nice to refresh that. And then we're going to go through what constitutes a healthy diet and how to build a balanced meal. And then we're going to go down to the holiday season and healthy eating during the holiday season. And then, as I said, we are going to have a Q&A session in the end. So whenever you have a question, just write it in the chat and we can go through it in the end. So I'm from Lifesum, and Lifesum is all about nutrition and helping people towards healthier life through better eating. So we are healthy eating simplified. And Lifesum is a digital platform helping over 60 million users globally to live a healthier life through better eating. And our app exists in 11 different languages. So we really have users all over the world, just like you are, saying in the chat here that you are from everywhere, basically. So in Lifesum, we want to help people towards a healthier life through safe and sustainable eating habits. So in the app, you insert your personal numbers, if you have any weight-related goal, and if you have any nutritional preferences, and then we will provide you with nutritional individual recommendation based on that. And in the app, we have a variety of diets and meal plans. So you can find a way of eating that suits your preferred way of eating, because we know that it's not a one size fits all. So we all have individual ways that we want to eat. And we also have a life score, which is an individual feedback based on your habits, such as your intake of vegetable, fruit, fiber, sugar, and exercise habits. So each week you will get a new life score based on what you have tracked the previous week. So you get personalized feedback on what you've been doing well and how you can improve your habits for the upcoming week. And we also have over 1,000 nutritious and easy to cook recipes within the app. And I really can guarantee that you will find something that you will like. It's really, really nice recipes. So great advice that you should go in and look at that. So it's all from breakfast to dinner, lunches, and snacks. So let's dive into nutrition then. Why is nutrition so important? Well, our diet has an extremely large impact on our well-being, and a diet that is balanced throughout our life can lead to a decreased risk for overweight and obesity, as well as a decreased risk for chronic diseases like diabetes type 2, cardiovascular diseases, bone diseases, and also certain types of cancer. And what's really, really important to note is that it's never, ever too late to start a healthy and balanced diet. And one large growing problem in the Western world is overweight and obesity, which has tripled globally since 1975. And currently around 53% of the population in the EU suffers from overweight. And with the prevalence of overweight and obesity, the risk of other diseases such as diabetes type 2, bone diseases, cardiovascular diseases, and certain types of cancer also increases. So this global issue is really something that we need to pay attention to and do what we can to prevent and fight. But it's a really important note as well here that there are preventative tools against overweight and obesity. So with the right knowledge and a balanced and healthy diet, as well as regular physical activity, we can prevent overweight and obesity. So now we know why it's so important to think about this. This is just one aspect of it, but let's go through some basics of nutrition. So first of all, we have energy, or what we generally say calories. So calories, or kcal or cals, depending on where you are, is a unit for how much energy there is in the food and drinks we consume. And our bodies require energy to function. So even when resting, so if we just lie completely still, we still require energy to maintain all of our bodily functions, such as breathing and for our heart to pump, for our blood to flow. And so that energy that we require in this resting phase is called our basic metabolic rate, or BMR. And in addition to the BMR, we also need an extra amount of energy when we move our body. So even when we're sitting or walking or standing up or exercising, of course, we also need more energy for our body to be able to do so. And our body also need extra energy when we digest and absorb the food we eat. So all that process also take energy from the body. And all of these different parts sums up into our total energy expenditure. And how much energy you need on a daily basis is very, very individual. So there's not one size that fits all here either. So it all depends on your body composition, such as your age, your height, your sex, your weight, and activity level. And as well, if you have any weight-related goal. So if you want to lose weight, you will require a bit less energy, but if you want to gain weight, you'll require more. And it can be quite tricky to know how much energy you need as an individual, but using a tool like Lifezone can help you determine your daily individual recommendation. And then we have macronutrients, or macros, which is commonly used as well. And these are the building blocks in our diet, and they provide us with energy. So we have 3 different types of macronutrients. So we have the carbohydrates, which gives us around 4 calories per gram. And the carbohydrates are our body's primary source of energy. So if carbohydrates are available from our diet, our body will use them as energy. And our brain alone needs around 100 grams of carbohydrates per day. And then we have protein, which also provide around 4 calories per gram. And protein is needed for various functions in the body. Many probably know that we need protein in order to build muscles. And that is because protein is needed to create new cells. And it's also needed for our enzymes and for our hormones. So protein is really important for us. And protein is built up of amino acids, of which 9 are essential. So we need to get it from the food we eat. And then we have fat, which is also a really important part of our diet. And fat provides us with 9 calories per gram. And it's also really important for our cells. So when we renew our cells, we need fat in order to do so. But fat is also needed for our hormones. And we also need fat in order to absorb the fat-soluble vitamin that we have in the foods we eat. Otherwise, we can't absorb those. So we need fat in our diet in order to absorb those when we get them. And there's also some essential fatty acids that we need to get from the foods we eat, such as omega-3 and omega-6. And then we also have other things that contributes with energy as well, which is fiber, which gives around 2 calories per gram. It depends how much that is absorbed in our stomach. And then we also have alcohol, which provides 7 calories per gram. And then we have sugar alcohols, which is commonly used in sugar-free bars or sugar-free candy. And that provides around 1 to 3 calories per gram. So what constitutes a healthy diet, and what should you think about? Well, first of all, like a healthy diet should contain a varied intake. So that's really important that you get a little bit of everything. And it should be filled with nutrient-dense foods, such as vegetables of all kinds, legumes, which is beans and lentils, fruit and berries and whole grains. And what these different food groups have in common is that they are really high in dietary fiber, which is an essential part of a healthy diet. This can help to prevent disease, it can aid our digestion, and help us maintain a stable blood sugar level. And these groups also tend to be really high in vitamins and minerals, which is important for us. And it should also contain sources of healthy unsaturated fats. And that's found in nuts, seeds, olive oil, avocado, and more. And unsaturated fat, which is the healthy fat, is important for our heart health and also to prevent disease. Because if we swap the saturated fat, which is found in animal products such as butter, cream, cheese, and meat, to unsaturated fat, which I was mentioning previously, we can actually decrease the risk of cardiovascular diseases. So that's really important to have in mind. And a healthy diet also needs to contain sources of protein. And many people think that protein only exists in animal products such as meat or fish or poultry and eggs, for example. But protein exists in so many other foods as well, such as beans, lentils, tofu, grains, nuts. I mean, whole grain pasta, for instance, contain around 12 grams of protein per 100 grams. So you get a bit of protein from different food groups as well. So it's not just like the meat on the plate. And so we should aim at having a varied intake within these different food groups in order to get a variety of nutrients in our diet. I mean, since all the different food groups contain different amounts of the macro and micronutrients, so a varied intake is really key here. So how should you think when you should build a meal then? So we know that these different food groups should be in our diet overall, but how should we think when we're having a plate in front of us and creating a meal for ourselves or family or for our loved ones? So first of all, we should aim at having a source of carbohydrates. And that should preferably be carb source which is rich in fiber, such as quinoa, barley, brown rice, potato, sweet potato, or whatever we have available. And then we also need a source of protein. So protein, as I mentioned before, is found in chicken, like salmon, tofu, edamame beans, falafel, or turkey. And then we should also aim at having a source of fat. And here it's important that we should aim at having the healthy unsaturated fat for health. And that's found in things like fatty fish, like salmon or mackerel, and avocado, in nuts and seeds, or olive oil. So it can be great trick is to just like sprinkle some nuts or seeds over your meal, or like drizzle some virgin olive oil on top. Can be a great way to include some fat. And then we should also include some vegetables to our meal, and try to do that to each meal, like even the breakfast can benefit to get some extra vegetables in there. So vegetable provide us with a lot of fiber, but it also gives us a lot of vitamins and minerals. So when we have like a balance of these nutrients on our plate, it can help us to stay fuller for longer, and it can provide a more smooth blood sugar rate, because both protein and fat and fiber helps to slow down the digestion. So that's really key here. And it can help us stay fuller for longer compared to like if we have just a bowl of pasta, for instance, with nothing to it, then we tend to get pretty hungry quite soon after the meal. But if we have like a balance of carbs with fiber and then some protein and healthy fats, it can help us stay fuller for longer. So that's really important. And then we have hydration as well, which is really important and vital for our survival. So water is needed for various functions in the body, like all from our brain to our lungs, skin, digestion, and basically everything in our body. But how much water we need is highly individual, and it varies again on our body composition and like our activity and how much we sweat, and what type of climate we live in as well. And a good way to check that you get enough hydration in your body is to check the color of your urine in the morning. And a clear, bright color here indicates that you are getting enough fluids, whereas a darker, more intense color gives an indication that you need to hydrate more. And using the water tracker in the lifestyle map can be a really great way of ensuring that you get enough water. And it can work as a good reminder to just like sip on a water bottle all through the day. So now we know like what we should include in our diet, but there are also things that we should aim at eating less of in a healthy, balanced diet. And that is nutrient poor and energy dense foods. That includes like candy, cookies, soft drinks, chips, ice cream, and energy drinks. And the reason that we should eat small amounts of this food is because they are so nutrient poor, so they contain little of these good nutrients that we need in our body, but they tend to be very high in energy instead. So that means if we eat a lot of these foods, we either get too few nutrients or we exceed our energy requirements. And as I said, like they're also very high in sugar and saturated fat and sodium, which is very common. And when having an excessive intake of these, it's correlated with having an increased risk of a variety of diseases, such as cardiovascular diseases, diabetes type 2, and obesity. So we should aim at eating less of this food in our diet. But with that said, it's really important with balance as well. Like there's not one single food item that is so healthy, so we should eat it all the time, and nor is something so unhealthy, so we never can eat it. So the key is really to have a balanced and healthy diet in line with our individual energy requirements. So that's important. So let's dive into healthy eating during the holiday season. So we know what to eat for our health, but how can we maintain that balance during the holiday season? So it's quite common scenarios that can happen during the holiday season when people think about the dietary intake. Like one thing is that people tend to skip meals before like they know they're going to have like a large dinner in the evening, a really big feast. So they skip all of the meals like before that just to make room for the holiday feast, which probably like isn't the best idea for most people, because that tend to leading to feeling way too hungry or even starved, which can lead to overeating when the meal is actually served. And then like they lead to them feeling too full or even feeling like shame and guilt for eating too much. And then they want to compromise the day after or the next meal, like by skipping that meal. And then like it goes like around in a bad circle. So you like eat too much and you eat a little, eat too much, eat a little, and then like feel guilt for eating too much. It can also be quite common that people feeling so stressed about reaching a certain specific goal during the holiday season. So they like have so many restrictions during the holiday, like shouldn't eat it, I shouldn't eat that, which can lead to triggering scenarios that are taking over like all of their mindset here, resulting in losing the holiday joy. So how can we avoid these scenarios? Well, first and most importantly, like it's so important to be kind to yourself. Like there's no stress about not reaching a specific weight goal or any goal really during the holidays. Like our main goal here should be like we should enjoy yourself and enjoy the time we spend with our loved ones. So that's really important. And we should also really remember that it's all about the whole picture over time that's important. So it doesn't make such a huge difference if we exceed our energy recommendation on one day. It's all about the habits over time. So even if we have like a really large dinner on Friday, like if you put that out on a whole week, it might not make such a huge difference. So that's important as well. And you can see like such statistic as well if you track your food in the Lifesum app. So how should you plan your meals then in order to set you up for success here? Like plan your day and like don't skip meals just to make room for holiday feast. Eat a balanced, have a regular balanced meal schedule before that as well. So if you're used to having breakfast and then a lunch and a snack before dinner, like have that even though you know you're going to have a holiday feast in the evening anyway, because that like helps us to set us up for success and leads to more balanced eating overall. And then like make sure to have what I said too previously with the plate, like think about all of those different aspects of how to building a balanced meal, because that's really important when it's helping us to stay full and balanced and having stable energy levels throughout the day. And it's also important to fill your plate with nutritious foods. And then also incorporate some physical activity, even though it's the holidays. It's like, and here I don't mean that you need to go and have like a 2-hour session in the gym, but it can be enough to take like your friends or the family or whoever you are with, or if you're alone, to like go out for a brisk walk or play some football or dancing, or even having a little kind snowball fight if you have snow available, or go sledding or skiing. So do something where you use your body, which can be really beneficial for your health overall. It can also be really helpful to involve the entire family, like in the cooking and planning meals. And when doing things together, it increases our motivation to do things that are good for us. And then we should also think about being mindful in our actions. So if you have kids, you know that they tend to do as we do, not as we say. So, I mean, show them be a good role model for them, like fill your plates with vegetables and things that you know are good for you and for them as well. And if you have kids and you want them to increase their interest in food and cooking, like make sure to involve them from the start and let them take part of the shopping and cooking process. And I mean, they might not be able to handle like a sharp knife and like chopping things, but they can help to mix some ingredients or stir a sauce or something. So involving them can really help to increase their interest in food and healthy eating as well. And it can also be really nice and a fun way to involve the family to try new recipes. So like you can sit together and look at recipes in the Lifesum app, for instance, and let the kids select a few recipes that they want to try, and then you can like cook them together and make a whole event out of it. It can be really nice. And I mean, when there's time to plan your holiday menu, like there's no compromise between having a nutritious menu and having a tasty menu. As a healthy doesn't mean less tasty. There are so many delicious recipes that you can enjoy that are rich in healthy nutrients. Like here we have a really nice carrot soup, for instance, some baked sweet potato with some almonds, and some like baked carrots as well with some really nice arugula, and some baked beans, which is really, really tasty. So I mean, check out the recipes in the Lifesum app. They're so nice. And here we also have some easy cooking swaps that you can do in order to make your foods and meal even more nutritious. So by swapping, for instance, butter to olive oil, whipped cream to low-fat Greek yogurt, and bacon to thinly sliced and roasted tofu, and swapping milk to cream, and then fried food to roasted or baked food, that can improve the fat quality of the meal and decrease the amount of saturated fat. So again, saturated fat is something we want to eat a bit less of, since choosing healthier fat options can help to decrease the risk of cardiovascular diseases. So that can be a really good thing to have in mind as well. And then we can also think about choosing whole grain options whenever possible, because that can help us increase the amount of fiber in the meals. So whenever possible, choose the whole grain options, like even whole grain bread or brown rice versus white rice, etc. And then another thing we can do is to swap soft drink or other sweetened beverages or alcoholic beverages even to plain or sparkling water. That can help us to reduce the amount of sugar in our meals or in the beverages that we consume. And I mean, there are things you can do to make the water more festive too. Like you can add some fresh fruit, some herbs or vegetables to it to make it more fun. And one of my favorites is to have like sparkling water and add some sliced cucumber, some lime and some fresh mint. And that's really a nice and refreshing drink. And then people tend to, like when thinking about vegetables, when adding them to their meal, people generally just think about like lettuce, cucumber, and tomato, but there are so many more vegetables than that. So we can all from broccoli, cabbage, kale, cauliflower, beetroot, green beans, and like there's so many vegetables. And like you are from across the globe, so I mean I'm sure there are a variety of vegetables wherever you are. And I mean, when you're preparing the vegetables, it can be nice to be a bit creative. Like you don't just need to eat them as they are, or like blend or raw, or just boil. Like you can think about different things you can do to make them more exciting as well. Like you can add some extra crunch by adding some seeds or nuts to the dishes, or some extra flavor by squeezing over some lemon juice or lemon zest, or add some dried or fresh herbs to it. And it can also be really nice to think about using different textures when it comes to vegetables. So think about having something crunchy, maybe something cold, something warm, something soft, something creamy. So like you mix and match a bit, to make the dish more exciting. And it's also nice to vary the cooking method when you prepare vegetables. So try something new. Like if you always like boil your broccoli, try to roast it or try to grill it a bit, and you can see like new flavors develops. It's really, really nice. So try some new cooking method. And another way to spice them up a bit is to include some fresh fruit in the vegetable dishes as well, because that really gives a new freshness to it. So try to add like some oranges or some apples or pomegranate to a vegetable dish. It can be a really fun way to enjoy them. So here's a great example how you can use both fruits and vegetable together in a lovely salad, which makes a perfect dish to your side table during the holiday season. So it's like orange, pomegranate, and some carrots, and a really like tingly dressing on top. It's a really, really good one. So you can find this one in the Lifesum app as well. And it can be quite challenging when we have like the whole holiday buffet or a big table filled with plenty of dishes to like find like what you're gonna have and put on your plate. But it can be like good to have some tips in mind here, because first of all, like fill your plate with vegetable first. So otherwise it can be pretty difficult to have room for that. So if you fill a plate with other things first, then you tend to forget about the vegetables, and then you might be too full to have them afterwards. So start off with the vegetables. So always make sure that they are on your plate from the start, so you don't miss them. And I mean, just because there are plenty of different food options doesn't mean you need to overfill your plate either. I mean, it's better to take the amount you're gonna eat that you know you're gonna eat, and finish that intake instead of like filling your plate too much from the start, because then it's a risk that you won't be able to finish it, or that you will eat too much when you already are full. So like take a second servings instead if you're still hungry after the first one. So this can really help to prevent overeating as well as decreasing food waste. And then think about filling your plate with colors, because colors in food generally mean a lot of nutrients in there. So aim at having as many colors as possible on your plate. And then I also want to highlight that we need to think about using our leftovers during the holiday season as well, if we have any leftovers there is. So it's really common to get a lot of food over from the large meal from the holiday season, especially like if you spend it in your house and people are bringing a lot of dishes. And those shouldn't go to waste, of course, because like it's a lot of love and time put into those. So make sure to use them. And I mean, leftovers can be a perfect base for the next day's dishes. So using them to make a perfect base for a salad, or using them in an omelette can be a really great, like roasted vegetable, for instance, is a perfect base for a salad, and like leftover turkey or fish goes perfect in an omelette. So use all of those leftovers to make new exciting dishes. And then just because you have to be mindful of your food intake doesn't mean you need to skip dessert. I mean, we have so many plenty of nutritious dessert recipes in the Lifestyle app, all from a delicious pumpkin pie to yogurt bar, chocolate mousse, and different types of treats. So if you want to enjoy dessert, but still like think about your sugar intake, or if you want to have like a good fat quality, so make sure to check these recipes out. They are really, really nice and filled with nutrients as well. For instance, here's one of my favorite recipes, which is a chocolate pie made of silken tofu, which I really want all of you to try because it's so nice and creamy. And you can also find that in the Lifestyle app. And that was everything. Do we have any questions? I see here that someone has written that air fry is very good too. And yeah, that's a really, really good cooking method as well. You can get a really crunchy like vegetables in there to roast, like some Brussels sprouts, for instance. It's really nice to do in an air fryer.
Thank you so much, Signe, for a very detailed presentation. I mean, colleagues, you can see she has actually walked us through what we need to do to ensure that we are having a healthy eating habit during the holiday season. I think she rushed the presentation for us to be able to cover so many things, and at the same time, she was able to eat the nails for each of the specific things that we need to take away from our presentation. So like I mentioned earlier, if you have any question that you want to ask her, you can drop it in the chat box, and then we'll go over the questions. There's one question I have here, which is how can I manage portion sizes during holiday feast without feeling deprived? How can I manage my portion sizes? I mean, the quantity of food that I eat during holiday season without feeling deprived.
Yeah, so I mean, the feeling deprived is one of like the dangerous part if you want to like lose weight and stuff. And when you like restrict yourself too much, you're having a too low energy intake. So first of all, like you need to make sure that you're eating enough energy all through the day, because you shouldn't walk around being too hungry or feeling starved. But then it can be a really good thing to eat like food that have a large volume but contain a bit less energy, such as vegetables. And you can eat like a large volume with a lot of fiber and nutrients that will fill you up without feeling that you're eating so little. So fill your plate with those kinds of food, which can really help you to feel satiated. That's really. I also got a question here in the chat about using fasting during the holiday season. And I mean, as I said before, like there's not one diet that fits all. So fasting can really work for some. For some, fasting doesn't work at all. But if you like to do fasting and you feel that it's working for you and your lifestyle and your preferences, it can be a great way too. So then you can try the fasting in the Lifestyle app as well. We have both different fasting meal plans and also a fasting timer in the Lifestyle app. So you can try to do that as well. And then you can feel like, okay, but I wanna skip breakfast, but then I wanna make sure to eat my lunch and a snack and a dinner, or like find a way that fits your needs. But what's important to think about when doing fasting is that if you fast for a certain amount of hours during a day, then you have a shorter time span in order to get all of the nutrients and energy that you need for your body. So then you really need to pay attention to that the meals you're eating are nutritious and that they have enough energy. So that's really important too, since you have less meals to get all of those things.
Okay, there's a question for you also, that recent study shows that even small amount of alcohol is still harmful to our body. What is your take on this?
No, well, I would want to say sadly, but yeah, the alcohol, like doesn't provide any benefits to us at all. So I mean, we should really try to consume as little alcohol as possible. I mean, it doesn't provide any benefits, and an excessive intake can really be very harmful for us. And yeah, even a small amount, like it doesn't provide any benefits for us, of course. Like, as with everything, like you can, I wouldn't say that you have to stop drinking for the rest of your life. Of course, you can enjoy like a really nice glass of wine every now and then, but it's not something that gives us any benefits at all. So water is the number one thing for hydration.
Okay. Another question for you. Does Lifestyle have a discount code for you and staff? I'm laughing on this already.
I think you got some codes already, but they got used immediately. I think that you run out of the codes so quickly. Yeah.
So for this, I need to say more. This is why I'm laughing on this is because we've been trying to look for ways of increasing our licenses with LifeSum so that at least we can have as many personnel on board as possible. We're still working on this, and once we have any headways on this, we'll definitely reach out. But like Signe mentioned, anytime we put out the code, they get consumed almost immediately. I mean, which means there is a lot of buy-in from our personnel to use the LifeSum app. So we are working on this, and then if we are able to secure more funding to get more licenses, then we will definitely reach out to publish this out to personnel. Another question is, are the recipes in the app free?
So the recipes in the app, you need to have a premium subscription to access those. But the recipes that I had in this presentation, you can access them because you will be able to find the presentation later on, because they will be sent a link, right? So you can see those.
Okay. There's another question. This is very tricky. I mean, it's like maybe you are in a family and then you're trying to lose weight, and then you see that your family, they just want to enjoy themselves and then just have the best of me that they could have access to. So how can I encourage my family and friends to join me in making healthier choices during holiday celebrations?
But I think it's important too, because not everyone knows so much about nutrition and why it's so important. So you can also be it can be very challenging, but try to talk to them and convince them this is important for us. We should increase our vegetables intake. We need to think about what we put in our body because it really impacts how we feel. So try to get them on the train as well here. But if that doesn't work, I mean, I think it's so interesting how people have so many opinions about what you put on your plate. I mean, think about yourself then. If they don't want to follow you in eating a healthy, balanced diet, I mean, just care about your plate then and eat whatever you feel that you benefits from, and pay attention to that. And maybe they will be inspired by you by doing the mindful choice for your body.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. There's a question in the chat. If I want to maintain my weight, not to increase in general, what is your advice?
Yeah. So here, the energy balance, so then we need to think about, okay, so our body needs a certain amount of energy each day. And in order to maintain that weight, we need to provide it with the same amount of energy as it uses every day. Otherwise, if we eat too much, then we will gain weight. And if we eat too little, we will lose weight. So reaching that energy balance can be super tricky because knowing how much energy we do want, it's super challenging. But using LifeSum, insert all of your numbers, say that you want to have the goal to maintain your weight, and we will provide you with your energy recommendations as well. And here it's important, if you're a person that are working out a lot, then you need to think about that too. So log your exercise in LifeSum as well, because otherwise you might burn too much energy in order to maintain your weight on the calorie intake you have. But if you track your exercise in LifeSum and include those calories as well, you will get the amount you need in order to maintain weight.
Thank you for your feedback on this. Colleagues, you can post your question in the chat box and then we will read them. While you are doing that, I'll read another question. Are there strategies to handle late night craving or snacking during holiday season?
Yeah, so late night snacking can often be a result of eating too little during the day. So as I said before, people tend to eat too little and then they eat too much and then go in that yo-yo thing. So when you have a lot of cravings in the night or cravings when you get home from work, for instance, it's often a result of not eating enough balanced meals throughout the day previously. So make sure to have balanced meal all through the day. And if you feel you're still hungry in the evening, then have a proper balanced snack instead. So don't go and nibble and open everything, every jar and every cabin in the kitchen. So instead have a little meal instead that's balanced. So have some low fat Greek yogurt with some nuts and a fruit instead, and have a proper snack so can help manage your cravings. Otherwise it can be difficult to stop.
Okay. Thank you. I know you mentioned this earlier during one of your response to the consumption of alcohol. But it's about you take one out, you replace with another one. So there's no room for vacuum. So are there specific recommendations on holiday drinks or beverages that are healthier choices?
Yes. In fact, we have so many mocktails in the Lifesum app as well now. So instead of drinking like an alcoholic cocktail, we have mocktails that are without alcohol, but still is like a really tasty, and like there's so many different ones that are a bit like bitter or a bit more sweet or a bit like zesty and fruity. So make sure to check those out as well. So you can just search for mocktails in the recipe app and they will appear. And they're like so nice and they look so nice as well. So like if you have guests over, for instance, don't even tell them it's a mocktail. Just give them that drink and they will be super happy, I'm sure.
Okay. I mean, there's a question being asked by one of our colleagues, which is actually related to that. I want to drink more water during work hours in the office every day, but I don't like either pure water or coffee. Do you have any good suggestions?
Yes, I do. So I would say that you always should have a water bottle or a big glass with you next to you on your desk or wherever you're working. And then you can, as I said, like infuse it with some nice vegetables, some fruit, berries or herbs. And that will make the water so much more exciting. So squeeze like some sliced cucumbers, some fresh berries or some slices of lemon. Do add that to a water bowl and then you have that the entire day and then you can like sip every now and then. Like you don't need to drink like a liter at a time because that's not even beneficial for us. So it's better to drink like small amounts more regular and then having too large amount fewer times. So infuse the water with different flavoring, whatever you prefer, and that can really help to like increase the flavor of it if you don't like water.
Actually, this is very helpful. I mean, this is something I've actually practiced personally before. I used to do it instead of drinking ordinary water, plain water, just to encourage myself, just a matter of cutting like a lemon into half, then squeeze one half into the water. It kind of changed the taste and make it much more. And before you know, you realize that you're actually drinking more water and you are well hydrated. So, colleague, put more questions, then I will read them. Are there practical ways to reduce my intake of processed food and sugar during the holiday? Practical ways to reduce my intake of processed food and sugars during the holidays.
Yes. So, I mean, today it's so common with these ultra processed foods that are like treated in so many different ways. And it can even be like, yeah, so they tend to be not super beneficial for us. But I mean, a great way to reduce that is to make all of the food yourself, like do home cooked meals instead, because then we can really control what's in the food and we can adjust, like even if it's a recipes that do include sugar, we can reduce the amount of sugar. Or we can find like a sugar substitute. So for instance, if you bake something and you don't want to add white refined sugar to it, but use other alternative sweeteners to it instead, like use dates, which is a really, really good one. Or like maybe add some maple syrup instead, but reduce the amount because those are a bit less sugar than compared to white refined sugar. So finding like cooking at home can really help you make more nutritious choices as well versus buying things that are ready.
Okay. There's a question from one of our colleagues. Is drinking too much coffee bad for our bodies, e.g. 3 large cups per day?
So in general, it's like caffeine intake is really, really individual. Some people can't even drink 2 cups of coffee, while others can drink like 7 and feel nothing. But it's generally safe to consume around 400 milligrams of caffeine per day, which is around 4 cups. So I would say I mean, it depends as well here. How large is your cups? I mean, if you drink like, yeah, but like 2 deciliter cup, 4 of those is generally considered safe. But remember that we have really individual tolerance levels for caffeine. So, and also like some people can't drink coffee late in the afternoon because then they can't sleep. So those aspects are really important to think about as well. Yeah, but it's safe to consume 3 cups per day.
Thank you. There's a question from a colleague. I think I may rephrase it. I mean, he said he has an ideal body mass index, but he has a belly. That's the way he wrote it. What should I eat or not eat?
So unfortunately, there is not a specific like way of eating or way of exercising that can burn fat from a specific part of the body. So if you would like to lose, if this belly is, if it's fat that you want to lose from that belly, you need to lose weight in overall. So you need to be in an energy deficit in order to lose fat. And also I would recommend to do some strength exercise as well. but it's not like, but we can think about, as I mentioned previously, like think about reducing the intake of saturated fat, and increasing like the fibers, the vegetables, protein, and unsaturated fat instead. So overall having a balanced diet, but also if you want to lose weight, you need to be in an energy deficit for a period of time in order to do so.
Okay, thank you so much. I mean, we all have something that we crave for. So can you suggest ways to enjoy holiday sweets in moderation without feeling guilty? You know,
I mean,
we just want to eat candies and chocolates and whatever. So are there ways to enjoy all this sweet in moderation without feeling guilty?
Yeah, I would like really want to stress too, like we should never ever feel guilty when eating food. So like if you want to have some candy or sweets, like enjoy that, and like be mindful when eating that. Don't think about like, oh no, I'm eating all of this chocolate, I'm such a bad person. Like take the bite of chocolate that you want to have and enjoy that when you're eating it. Otherwise, what's the point if you're not enjoying the moment? So think about like being mindful, enjoy it, but I mean in moderation. We shouldn't like eat it and never stop, of course, because that won't be so good for us. But it's important to think about like enjoying it in moderation, but be mindful and enjoy it while you're actually eating it, and don't feel shame and try to avoid feeling guilt over it. But it can be good to think about also that we have balanced meals throughout the day as well, so we're not like starving and then all of us are like starting to eating chocolate, because we can't be. If we're going to eat chocolate to feel like the hunger, that's not a good idea. So make sure to eat balanced meals before having the sweets. So like we said to the kids, like no candy before dinner.
Okay. Thank you so much for your response on this. There's a question in the chat. Is there an adjustable macro counter in the app? I can only see an already set option. Also, any suggestion on how to adjust macros for a better diet?
Yes. So, I mean, when you enter the Lifesum app, you will be on our Lifesum standard plan. And in order to adjust the macronutrient settings, you will have to be in a premium account. So you can do that. Like if you're on a premium account, you can adjust the macros to whatever you want to. So you can go into the nutritional settings and then adjust macronutrients. And you can also adjust your calorie recommendations as well. But then we have, as I said previously as well, we have different diets and we have different meal plans that have different macronutrient settings already set. So you can go in there and check it around and see whichever fits your needs the most. But you can of course go in and check and adjust the macronutrients as well.
The next question in the chat, is it okay to buy frozen pre-cooked healthy foods?
Yeah, I mean, frozen foods, it's also interesting when we're speaking about like processed or ultra processed foods. I mean, frozen vegetables, for instance, is a great food to include in your diet. Sometimes frozen vegetables even have more nutrients than fresh ones because they are frozen closer to harvest. So they have all of those nutrients and then you freeze it and then it stays there. Whereas like fresh vegetables might travel a long distance before reaching you and then some of the nutrients have oxidated. So, I mean, frozen vegetables, of course, there are frozen healthy foods as well. And I'm not sure which exact pre-cooked meals you're talking about here, but of course there are healthy options as well. And I mean, what we can have in mind when we're looking at pre-cooked meals is to check the nutritional label as well to see like, okay, how much sugar is there in it, how much sodium, how much saturated fat, what's the fat quality of it. So check the nutritional label, because sometimes pre-cooked meals tend to have a lot of sugar and added sodium to them and maybe a less nice fat quality. But so check the nutritional label, that's always a good tip to do. But of course there are healthy frozen foods as well.
Okay, thank you so much. A colleague also asked a question. I replace coffee with matcha. Is that a good idea?
I mean, it depends what you feel like. Some can experience like smoother energy raise when drinking matcha compared to coffee. But what we should have in mind when drinking matcha is that, like when we drink tea in general, matcha is like a green powder, a tea, so that's like grinded. So you drink the whole powder instead of just drinking like in a tea bag when you have the leaves and then you take it out. But matcha, you like consume the whole leaf. So what we should have in mind is that we shouldn't consume too much of it because there are some like pesticides or some things that are from the harvest from the tea that we can get too much of if we consume it too much. So that's important. So it's always like with everything, don't consume too much of anything, basically. But if you feel better with drinking matcha than compared to coffee, I mean, you can of course enjoy a cup every now and then.
Okay, thank you so much. My next question is, what strategies will you recommend to avoid over indulging at holidays, gathering, and parties?
Sorry, well, I didn't get the question.
What strategies will you recommend to avoid overindulging at holidays, gathering, and parties?
Yeah. I mean, it's again here, like think about having a balance all throughout the day so we don't like overeat in the end of the day. So think about balance all through the day and also the day before. Like we shouldn't starve ourselves and then like eating too much. So think about balance and think about like planning your plate and plating it and having a balance on that as well. And like be mindful when eating. It's quite common that we have like lots of distractions while eating, so it can be really helpful to like think about being focused and like present when you're having the meal, and don't sit in front of screens or doing things on your phone at the same time while eating. So focus on the meal when you're having it.
Okay. There's a question in the chat. What is your comment on instant food? Are instant noodles really bad for our health or just low nutrients?
I mean, here it's also like it depends what type of noodles it is. And I mean, it also depends if you think about the whole meal, what do you have to your noodles? Do you have your noodles with a lot of vegetables and some nice source of protein and some healthy fat to it? Then it might be a great meal. But if you're just having plain noodles, like you might feel very hungry quickly after. So, I mean, find kinds with maybe more fiber if that's available. And like put nutrient thing to it. So that's a good tip as well. Like think about great thing we can add to our meals instead of things we need to take out. If you love your noodles, of course you should have your noodles, but think about great things you can add to that meal or having a side dish with vegetables to it.
Another question for you here. We have a lot of questions today. What are some staple foods I should always keep at home to be prepared to cook a nutritious meal?
I always have like in my pantry, I always keep beans, lentils, like some nice grains like quinoa or barley, some whole grain pasta or lentil pasta or bean pasta or whatever I have at home. Like crushed tomatoes is really good too to have, so you can always like make some bean stew or something. And then I always keep like some vegetable that you can have in the freezer. It's really nice too. Like always have some chopped spinach or frozen green beans or broccoli or whatever vegetables that you like. So always fill your freezer with good vegetables. And green peas too, it's great. You can make like spreads, you can make different soups, you can make whatever with green peas. It's a really good one as well. And then tofu is really good too because that lasts so long in the fridge as well. So that's good.
Okay. I think this will be the final question from my own side, except we have another question in the chat. How can I stay hydrated during the festive period?
Yeah. So I mean, here again, think about like having if you have things in front of us, it can remind us to do it. So if you always have like a water bottle or water glass close to us, it can help us to actually think about drinking water. Or you can use like the LifeSamat and the water tracker and set up reminders so you get like a notification like now you need to sip of some water. So that can be helpful as well. And always have like a water glass. Like and also if you want to drink something else during the dinner or the feast or the meal, always have a water glass as well. So when you're feeling thirsty, still your thirst by drinking water and not the other type of beverage, whatever you're selecting. But think about always having water as your number one drink to put your thirst away.
Okay. Thank you so much. I mean, you're reiterating the same point. Always ensure that you have water to drink, and you can spice it up like you mentioned earlier on by putting some of those herbs or lemon or things inside to make it much more sweeter in our mouth. So a colleague is asking, is 2 tablespoons of chia every day healthy?
I mean, chia seeds is a really great food. It's rich in omega-3 and has a lot of like healthy fats and fiber in it. So yeah, I mean, it's chia seed, but as I said, like it also depends on what you eat for the rest of the days. Like eating only chia seeds all the time is probably not really great for us, but chia seeds is a great food to include, but remember to have like a varied intake as well with other things. But chia seeds is great.
Okay, I think we don't have any other question in the chat again. Thank you so much, Signe, for your detailed presentation and response to all our questions, and for educating us on how to stay healthy during the holiday season. And I hope my colleagues and folks all over the world, they've heard all those advice, and we'll try as much as possible to see how we can live healthier during the holiday season. Thank you so much again. I really appreciate your time. I think we'll still be bringing you back at another time to educate us more on how to have a healthy lifestyle while we're focusing on the type of food that we're eating. Thank you so much. So, colleague, thanks for your time and for your participation. And I wish all of you a very good holiday season, and try to enjoy yourself, and hoping to catch up with you very soon in another season of our Public Health Conversation series, when we'll be bringing another expert to talk to you. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you so much. And thank you for all great questions as well. They were amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.